I'm all for the failures because that's why I feel like I'm where I'm at because I failed. I failed a lot.
You file bankruptcy? Yeah.
I didn't go to business school. We've seeked some therapy. Mentally, I was done.
What's your biggest problem in business right now?
They, excuse me.
How old are you?
I'm 38.
You have boxing background.
Yeah.
So you've boxed before?
Yeah.
Have you ever been knocked out?
Not knocked out. I've been hit pretty good where I kind of fell, and I kind of picked myself up. But I got beaten up pretty bad. When I went to Golden Gloves, I got beat up pretty good by a guy that was boxing 12 years, and I only had 6 months. But yeah, I have.
Have you been knocked out, down or out in a roofing business?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, I've never gone through a roofing school. I wish you existed, 14 years ago, or this whole thing would have existed 14 years ago because it would have eliminated a lot of problems. But I was alone. I was on my own. I worked for a company for probably 6-7 months, very short-lived. And prior to that, I did have construction experience, but I was learning a new industry in construction, and it was just understanding the whole thing. And so I went in there for I think about 7 months, and then I started my business right after that because I had that bug, that entrepreneurial bug, which I've owned, buildings in the past, and I failed at that too. I owned a couple buildings and got out of them okay, but but I just wanted to do something in business. And at that time, my wife, now my fiance, at that time, she was like, well, why don't you just go ahead and just start your business? I mean, you train so many people, you got people that are willing to follow you. And I was like, well, I'll give it a shot. And,
so why do you think you failed? Why did you fail?
I failed. I failed a lot when I first started because I was trying to understand the industry. I didn't know the basics. I knew how to sell a contract. I didn't know, the production side of it. I really didn't know how you go about ordering materials. I don't know how you, find subcontractors. I didn't know how to find subcontractors. I had an ABC rep at that time that was like, thank God he was around because he really helped me. His name is Ivan Gonzalez. I think he's still in the roofing industry, but he really helped me. And then I had a roofer right after that, Paul Sobis, that that he's been with me for a long time, since almost the beginning, and he's really the person that really taught me the production side of it.
Was the last time you lost money on the job? Like whether mistake, underestimate, or something? Like it was a bad job, you lost money on it.
It really wasn't on the roofing side. It was on the masonry side. Masonry side, I've lost. There was some jobs that, you bid and you think you're going to be there for 3 days, and then you open up a can of worms and ended up being there a whole week or whatever, and we've lost a little bit. Actually, there was a roofing job, now that I'm thinking about it, earlier this year, that we made like $13. So it was close.
What's your biggest problem in business right now? You've been doing it for how many years?
13 years now.
13 years.
Yeah.
13 years later, what's your biggest problem?
I would say process and systems. Process systems.
How can it be biggest problem after 13 years? Is it part of your stress?
Well, definitely stress. It's definitely stress. I mean, you're so stressed, and I really, at that time, I never really had a thought of having a general manager or someone that's kind of like seeing what I see from a management position and understanding the whole business. And it was basically me and a sales manager or a production manager. So I literally, whatever decisions I made was strictly me. It was nobody else. It was me. I made all the decisions. And that's where I've kind of learned to start to collaborate, with managers and bring in a GM like I did recently in the last 2 years ago. But the stress really, it's tough. It's hard. You're dealing with subcontractors, you're dealing with homeowners, and problems. You have problems on the job. Sometimes people make mistakes, and you can't really see everything. And part of my problem is I like to have control of everything, and that comes from my dad, which I tried not to do. But I now realize like I was pretty much doing the same thing that he was, but on my side of the business, and I didn't even realize it. So just me just having full control of everything. I'm the one making decisions with the least amount of experience. I kept making mistakes, and sometimes out of pride, sometimes out of pride. I just wanted to make the decision. And
do you chase sales a lot?
oh yeah, that's where I came from. Quote unquote storm chasers. That's why after 5 years of doing it, and going chasing some storms, like I opened up an office in Wisconsin, that was a huge failure. It was a huge failure, and I wasn't ready for it. I just wanted to have more sales and more revenue, and it was very sales orientated.
Are you sales fix it all guy?
So I used to be. And I think maybe like 5 years ago, I heard of Grant Cardone, and he's a big advocate for that. Sales fix everything.
Do they fix everything?
It doesn't. It doesn't fix everything. I mean, it may cover up things for a little bit.
Ponzi scheme?
Ponzi scheme. I mean,
keep bringing cash to cover the holes.
Yep. It brings money in, you cover things, and that's it. But if you want sustained business, a solid business that you can be proud to hand over to your kids, that wouldn't be the case. It would die with you.
What's your work-life balance look like right now?
That's been a struggle for me. That's been a huge struggle for me. I've learned it from my dad. My dad worked 12 hours, 14 hours. I mean, he would work ungodly hours, and that's just what I saw him do. And I thought, like, to be successful, you got to work hard and just work all the time.
How about weekends?
Yeah, Saturday up until maybe 2 years ago, I started kind of relaxing on the weekends a little bit. But definitely, I mean, in a month, I'm at least working 1 to 2 Saturdays a month. But the work-life balance is not very good. It's affected my personal life, affected my marriage, and most recently with my kids.
How?
Just it's a horrible thing when you walk in the house and your kids, they excuse me. Sorry. You don't get the attention my wife, when she walks in, they're like, Mom, and then with me, I walk in, they're like, hey, Dad, and
You're not present. Are you on the phone a lot at home?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. My wife, she hates it. She there's times where she's like talking about my business like if it's someone else on the side, and you're constantly working and this and this and this. And yeah, she's very grateful for, that we're able to do things, pay for things and have nice things and take our kids to private school and all that. But at what cost? At what cost?
Next one is the hardest question. It's the hardest for men to answer, but you have to be honest with yourself. How distracted you are with with anything that can bring you that dopamine or any kind of happiness outside of work. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of guys start stressing out at work, start burning out, and what they do is they get distractions during the day, and it affects their productivity. It can be alcohol, it can be Facebook, it can be TikTok these days, it can be honestly going in the middle of the day in the bar. It can be any addiction during the day or at night where you will not tell anyone that you've done it, but I see guys all day. It could be YouTube. Like for me, it could be YouTube. Like, okay, I'm stressed, I'm gonna go watch, Gary Vee. How distracted you are when you're stressed with other stuff. Like, you have 15 apps, but I know for myself, and I deal with the guys all the time. When you're stressed and you're depressed, yes, work-life balance is not there, but you're not thinking about your kids. Unfortunately, you're not thinking about your work and your 15 apps. You're thinking about next YouTube video or Facebook post that you read or another app, because it's all distractions, but it also brings us happiness. Or maybe you're thinking about a beer or White Claw or cognac, and we let that in our life, and now you spend 2 hours of your day, you wasted it. Now at night, instead of from 6 to 8 to put your phone down, you're actually trying to do the payroll for this Friday, because those guys, do you waste time during the day?
I'd say yeah. I mean, yeah, there's definitely distractions during the day. I mean, especially with social media. I mean, social media is, it's a double-edged sword. You're gaining information, especially in our industry. Like, I feel like when when SVG started a long time ago, they started something, and then IMG happened, and then that's where I feel like a lot of my growth started happening. Like, where I started realizing, like God, I thought I was somewhat successful, but then I'm seeing these other companies that were only open for a year or two, and they're here, and I'm here, and I'm like, wow, what the heck am I doing wrong? Alcohol was a problem in the past for me. Definitely was a problem. There's, at one point I got out of the business for a couple of years, and I did turn to alcohol. Luckily my wife, pushed me, and really my dad too. I mean,
By pushed you, do you mean like ultimatum, or how did she push you? Was it if you're gonna do this, I'm out? Or
I mean,
a lot of people get that, like, to the level of pretty much it cannot continue, or they're not gonna be around. How did she push you?
Not like I wouldn't get drunk and just be a horrible person. You can tell him, and my wife she didn't like seeing me like that. She didn't like seeing me like that. And, but I will say another thing that pushed me too was my dad. At that time, I wasn't doing nothing for a year, I think. I got out of the business. I said, I was so depressed. I was stressed out. It was almost the way that I think about it now, it was a very selfish thing that I did. At that time I had a young family, and I was so depressed that I lost something that I worked so hard to keep and grow, and I lost it, but my dad, he had I think at that time he had about 3 restaurants in Argentina. He found out what was happening to me, or what I was doing, and he flew from Argentina. He dropped his 3 businesses to help me.
When was that?
That was in 2014.
Is it fair to say that your dad saved you at that time?
Yeah. I mean, I was in a situation where I was depressed. Like I said, I felt like I lost something, that a baby, was like my kid. I felt like I grew this little thing into where it was at that point. I was pretty proud, of what I did, and because I never thought I'd be capable of doing something like that.
And for men, it's very hard to file bankruptcy. So you file bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Describe that. How did it feel? Like, what was the hardest, and what was the hardest, and how did you bounce back?
The hardest part was just coming into realization that when I had to go and just sign the paperwork to make it official, like I was done. You know, I was done with the business, and you know, whatever.
How much did you write off?
It wasn't a whole lot, luckily. Thank God I was able to, you know, take care of most of it. But I think it was like 60,000, something like that. Yeah, it wasn't that bad. You know, to be honest with you,
You could come out of it.
I could have came out of it. I definitely could have came out of it. At that time, I felt like
Your head was not in it?
I felt like I failed. I felt like, you know, I got to the point where like I was successful and I made a couple bad decisions and hiring a certain.
So you were 60,000. What was annual sales, gross sales?
At that time, I mean, I think the highest that I was right around 3.5 million, 3.8 or something like that.
When I was doing 1.5, I was 360K in debt. And my lawyer told me file bankruptcy, and I refused. And to this day, he said, "You're the only person I know who in that situation would not file a bankruptcy." For me, it wasn't an option. Like, I mean, I failed, I made a lot of mistakes, I didn't have accounting, and theft happened. There's a lot of bad things happening in the business, I can point fingers, but just did not see it. And guys, if you're watching this, I'm telling you, there's always a way out. Like Peter said it best. You know, looking back, you're like, okay, I could come out of it. I see so many guys, it's easy way out. You know, we always want to do what's easy, especially if you're depressed, like screw it, done. And I was in that position, but now looking back, I'm like, man, that was the best thing that happened to me. Like $360,000 when you do, not even doing 1.5 million, it's a lot of money. But you know, looking back, like you have the name, you have reputation. I knew that everybody in town will know and will talk, like, you know, my suppliers will know that I wrote off, you know, all of that. If I didn't pay supplier, if I didn't pay some subs, whoever, you know, like it was good debt, like not like owing people. You can't find one person in my town I owe money, but it was like bad loan, some suppliers, like, you know, big dogs, people with billions of dollars, they could write it off. I didn't want to because my name worth something. 60,000, when you do 3.5 million, you definitely could come back.
Yeah, I mentally, I was done. I was done. I had cleared up basically whoever was working for me at that time. I was alone, and I was just like, how can I bounce by myself?
What advice would you give someone who is in that position, like frustrated, depressed, you know, 50,000, 100,000 in debt, did a couple $1 million and want to file bankruptcy? What would you tell them?
I mean, you said it. Don't give up. Don't give up. Just continue marching forward. You know, one thing that I've learned in business is you have to have a strong will. You have to have a strong will. You don't have a strong will, you ain't gonna last very long. You know, and at that time, I felt like I had a strong will. I felt like I can overcome anything, and you know. But when you're by yourself, it's a little different. It's a little different, and even if you are by yourself, again, I look at it now, and being by myself, the way I should have thought about it was a fresh start. It should have been my fresh start, but mentally, because I was so stressed out, I was kind of depressed, and you know, I was trying to figure out. I was in my early 20s, man. I started my business when I think I was like 22, 23, something like that. I didn't really know much of anything. You know, but anybody that's going through that, definitely don't give up. Have hope. You know, have hope. Obviously, have a strong support around you, and that's why I absolutely love, you know, what you're doing with Roofing Insights. You know, what we were doing, you know, with IMG and all that. There was just a very collaborative, you know, network of support. I mean, friends that I still have to this day from that. And, you know, it's just seek, you know, the other, I guess, thing is be friends with competitors. You know, be friends with competitors. I mean, not everybody's a shark. You know, not everybody's a shark. Go out to networking events, make some friends in the industry, and share your problems. Share those things. And I feel like with you, with the guys that I've met that are actually my competitors. I mean, we're in the same town sometimes. They've helped me. They've helped me. I've told them multiple times, like, man, it's great to have a group to lean on, and you have a situation to get that support, because they're going through the same exact thing you are.
Sure. The last question. So how did you bounce back? What changed? And what's your routine not to file bankruptcy again? Because you mentioned you wanted to quit when COVID-19 started. So is it because you already been knocked down and it's easy, like, okay, I can fail and I can fail again, or like it's easier second time, right?
Right.
It's hard first time. Is this your problem?
No, I'm not like when you get into depths, go into bankruptcy, start all over. I'm not that person at all. It only happened.
You're not, but I'm talking about mental. It's just like they say, when you get caught drinking and driving, like second offense, like it actually happens. Like if you look at statistics, it's insane. I don't understand it.
You're more capable of doing it again.
Yeah, right. And for me, it's like, really? But for me, when you fail, second failure, it's easier than the first one, because now you're mortal. Like before, like I have ACL replacement in my knee. Before that, like, I can't do MCL. Like come on, like I'm indestructible. Like now you have something like this. Now I don't want to play basketball. I don't want to play soccer. I'm done. What if I torn my second knee? And they say you torn one ACL, second one, it's coming next couple of years if you don't stop. And when you think about it, it's like in business, it's the same thing. If you fail, you file bankruptcy. It's not like you're waiting for it. I mean, some people do because they just corrupt. But mentally, like, okay, it can happen again.
Well, thank God, that, suppliers understood. They obviously do business with me again now. They understood my situation. I literally went straight to the branch manager, higher up people, and I told them what was happening. I was honest with them with the whole thing. And thank God that, I did that, because when I decided to go back in business, I mean, they welcomed me. They're like, Pete, I know who you are. I know kind of your situation, and, and it worked out.
Can I get a commitment from you at the end? What really bothers me in my life, that we all hear our wives and kids complaining, and we get emotional. I get emotional about it all the time. But then we come home and we still, I don't know if it's accountability or what it is, we always can justify for the good cause. Like, this is my job. I have a right to do it. I'm doing it for you. They don't care. And I don't think we do it for them. I think a lot of times we do it for their own reasons. I watched recently CEO of YouTube, and I forgot her name. But she doesn't touch her phone 6 to 9. She comes home 6 to 9, she doesn't touch her phone. And one of my clients years ago, very wealthy man, we've been remodeling his house, the most expensive house back in the day in Atlanta. And he would come home every day 6 o'clock, and he was just with the family. They have like 4 kids. They were super, super rich family. And he was like financial advisor of some kind. And it was like 6 to 9, it's just family. So what I started doing is like 6 to 9 in my family, I don't touch my phone. I mean, I might go like check, like just for emergency, like every 30, 40 minutes, just to make sure not like my mom wouldn't call. Like, for what phone should be, not checking messages, messenger, or like Facebook or notification or comments on YouTube, but like checking the phone function of your phone. It's insane. Like, did my mom call me? Because, like if my mom will not get a hold of me for 3 hours, she probably will just show up at my door. Like, are you okay? So things like that. But overall, I'm coming home. I'm like, I promised my wife we'll have a dinner. And my wife told me, like, if I'm with you, like having a dinner, you cannot have your computer, you cannot have your phone. Like, I'm tired of it. And I have to honor it. And what I absolutely start hating, my wife started doing the same thing, and I start commenting back like, babe, you're on the phone all the time. Like, I'm right here. And now it goes both ways. So if I committed, she's gonna be committed, kids gonna be committed. And kids absolutely hate it. I have 7-year-old daughter coming to me saying, Daddy, look at me, don't look at your phone, and she wants my attention. And when kids start doing it, I'm like, man, what am I doing? And it affects you. So can I get a commitment from you? 6 to 9?
Yep. Yep, you got that commitment.
And then
yeah.
you can do 9 to 10, anything you want to do. You still have 2 hours to work. I still work at 9 to 11. My guys know, like sometimes at 12 o'clock I'll be sending emails, but my kids are asleep. My wife is asleep. You can work all you want, put your kids to sleep. I work 5 in the morning, I work 11 o'clock at night. But 6 to 9, 3 hours a day is sacred.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Man, good luck. We're gonna do another interview like this. I would say give me a couple months. Next time I'm in Chicago, I want to follow up with you. How are you doing? On the family, I'll share myself. It's a new journey for me too. I'm kind of going back to my basics with my family, with my wife, with my kids, and doing stuff that I have lost. I've been doing them 6 years ago. Business took the best of it, the best of my time. And my roofing business actually ran, like I never do anything at home with the roofing. Now it's roofing insides. So I build one business, I build another one. Like where does it start? Stop. So I'm done. So our family needs us. Guys, take care of your family. Comment below what you think about this interview. Comment below your tips on a work-life balance. I think it's one of the most important topics. Like you can earn all the money in the world, but if you lose your wife, if you lose your kids, I mean, look at the Hollywood actors who lost their kids. Yes, they're successful, they made it, and then they have drug addict kids who dies of overdose. Can you imagine yourself in that position? I can't, but I know I'm heading that way if I put my business as a priority over my family. Comment below, I want to hear from you guys, what you think, what your tips are, and let's collaborate, let's take care of our families.